Okay, I think we're ready to go. So I would like to welcome everyone to Blanc Charter Township meeting of the Committee of the Whole for Tuesday, November 10th. And Ms. Lane, could you lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would like to ask if there's a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Guzak?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just got one housekeeping item that I have to add to the agenda.
What would that be?
Okay, check number 91964 for $4,922.59, and check number 91965 for $5,914.56. These both add up to $10,800, and we need to put it on the agenda to get it approved. This is for the remodeling of moving the files as well as updating the audio in the room that you're in. So it's $10,838.
Why don't we just cover that under the treasurer's report, and we'll take the consent agenda. We'll remove it from the consent agenda, and we can talk about it there.
Okay, just so we get get approval. That's
Well, we can talk about that. I don't have any problem with it. Okay. Anybody have anything else? So we'll take the financial out of the consent agenda, and we'll discuss that. Anybody else have anything? Anybody want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So
I guess,
moved.
Mr. Guzak, you were making a motion to approve it with that change?
all right. So that'll be out of the agenda for Thursday, right?
Well, we can talk about it tonight too. So,
Well,
because we go over Thursday's agenda tonight. So,
Support, Mr. Chairman, on the agenda approval.
okay, support. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
now that we're back into a Zoom meeting, may I ask Attorney Laddie, will we have to do everything by roll call vote again?
We should make our decisions by roll call vote. And also, Madam Chair, I brought this up because there was a detail in the state statute that requires our participants by video to identify their location, and that location has to be reflected in the record as well. So, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind having taken a moment to have our participants on the board identify where they are,
Sure.
and we'll be in compliance.
Okay, Mr. Mansour,
Blanc Township.
Mr. Massey,
Blanc Township.
Mr. Guzak,
Grand Blanc Township.
Ms. Lane,
Grand Blanc Township Hall.
myself, Blanc Township. Okay, so Ms. Lane, you want to do a roll call vote with regard to the approval of the agenda?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mansour,
Yes.
Mr. Massey,
Yes.
Mr. Guzak,
Yes.
myself, yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And I want to make sure I see as Mr. Thomas and Mr. Atkins are absent. Is
I do
that
not-
correct?
Yeah, I got a message from Mr. Thomas that he was tied up in Port Huron. He was going to try and join the meeting, but he wasn't sure he was going to be able to get a connection from where he was. So,
And Mr. Atkins as well. Is absent.
And now we will go to public comments. And we've asked everyone that would like to make public comment, at least in the meeting notice, to use the raise your hand feature on Zoom. And Mr. Beller, do you see anybody with their hand raised? So I don't see anybody with their hand raised for public comment. So we'll close public comment at this time and bring it back to the board. We will have, at this time, we will go through the agenda for Thursday, November 12th. And on the agenda for Thursday will be the approval of the minutes for several meetings, October 6th, both the Committee of the Whole and Executive Session, October 8th, regular meeting, October 8th executive session, and October 27th regular meeting. I take it that if anybody has any changes to those, they'll get those to Clerk Lane before Thursday. Ms. Lane?
Mr. Chair, to the board, if you want to review the executive sessions minutes, Mr. Bennett and I have signed them, but you'll have to come to my office to review them. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lane. Okay, any comments on the minutes?
Mr.
Okay,
Chair,
yes, Mr. Mansour.
This isn't exactly on that, but I'm just curious about the conducting of this meeting back in Zoom as opposed to in the auditorium. Is
Right.
that, I'm just wondering what drove that, and if we're going to have the meeting in Zoom for Thursday as well.
Right. Yeah, we actually, as you noticed, this past board meeting that we had, the audio was, while the board members probably could hear okay, I take that back. I know we had a number of board members who could not hear at all. Mr. Thomas, I know, I spoke with him after the meeting. He couldn't hear a thing. And I know, I take it that probably some of you had trouble with the audio as well. We've had the people back out here working on it. We want to tweak it a little bit more before we go to a combination of meetings. So, doing the meeting in person probably wouldn't be a problem, but trying to do in person and streaming seems to be the problem. And so we want to play with it a little bit longer to make sure that we can do a combination both in person and for those people that don't feel comfortable, because we did hear from a number of them that they don't feel comfortable coming here to the hall. We want to make it accessible. So until we get those details worked out, we want to do it either in person totally or Zoom. And right now we probably shouldn't do it totally in person without having the avenue for the public to be able to participate, through an internet connection. So hopefully we'll have those worked out.
So it had nothing to do with any kind of change in state mandates, just
No. No, some of the mandates, continue to change, but in terms of why we're meeting on Zoom had nothing to do with that. It's more the fact that just working out the technology issues.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Miss,
Ms. Lane?
And I think that you told me earlier this evening, Mr. Bennett, that Thursdays will also be by Zoom and not in person.
Yeah, we want to make sure that everybody can hear us and you can hear each other. So we'll make sure that we have that tweaked in the next couple of weeks and have the bugs out of it. So,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Massey.
I don't quite understand the auto system just moving from the room to the location that it's in, and it created that kind of a problem. Mm-hmm. That saw the signal to me that was a problem going on prior to this. And I recall that we had a problem. You remember a couple of times our meetings were not recorded, whatever took place. So it seems like this has been an ongoing problem, and what they did is just put a Band-Aid on the situation.
Yeah. Well, I think we've resolved that now, and we'll cover that in the financial, what we've done on the audio and visual. So I think we may have it licked here pretty quick. So I appreciate the concern, and we want to make sure we're transparent and that the public can see what's going on.
And the reason I said that, Mr. Chair, you may not know, I have a lot of auto equipment because I'm a musician, and right. I deal with a lot of auto equipment. And that basically tells me, from a negative point of view, is that the people that install it, evidently they had the wrong folks installing it. Mm-hmm. That's from an experience. That's not criticizing from what I think. I'm just talking about from a perspective that I know that it shouldn't be as it was, as it is.
Well, I'll cover more of that when we talk about it under the financial. So. Okay, anything with regard to the minutes? Okay, moving on to the next item will be under the consent agenda that we, I don't know if we'll move it out for Thursday, but we can talk about it tonight. I know Mr. Guzak brought up a couple of check numbers. And basically what the situation is that the one was for, I don't know, how much was it, Earl, or Mr. Guzak?
Yes, to move the racks was $4,922.59. And to update the audio system, it was $5,914.56.
Right. So under the purchasing policy, the superintendent or supervisor can spend up to $10,000. I think, one of the things, this COVID thing, nobody knew how long it was going to go on, and what we need to do for keeping the public being able to participate in the meeting. So the system that we had put in is a top-notch system. However, we did not buy the modules for being able to live stream the meetings, because in the past it really wasn't something that really, was at the forefront of wanting to do it. We videotaped our meetings and we put them on YouTube, but with the COVID shutdown, we immediately wanted to start live streaming our meetings. At one point, we were using my cell phone to do it. We said, hey, you know what, we need to get on this thing. So I had a number of staff here look at a number of companies. I spoke with them and met with them. Basically, the skeleton of the equipment we had here was excellent, but we needed a couple more modules. One was for the moving of the rack so that we could do the video better, but we weren't sure that we were going to need the audio. It turns out that obviously after our last meeting, it's like, yeah, we've got to have both those things upgraded. So the bottom line is, if we want to approve that separately, we can, and pull it out of, the treasurer's financial recap. But bottom line is it's under the 10,000. And basically, it isn't under the 10,000, Earl?
No, it's over
No.
10,000. That's why I'm bringing it to the board.
Okay.
It's 10
I thought you said it was,
No,
okay.
it's about $837.15 over.
Okay. All right. Well, the bottom line is I think we have the right company. We are going to test it several times before our next board meeting with the new board to make sure that it's working well. But I didn't want to take a chance on having the same issues that we had with our last meeting where we couldn't hear and the public could not hear. We had quite a few complaints from the public that they could not hear. So anyways, that's what that expense is about. It's basically helping us to be transparent.
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm
Chair,
all in favor of it. I'm just
Yeah.
need to have
Yeah.
the authority to sign the check.
Mr. Laddie?
Mr. Chair, one of the things that and if you want to have the finance department look into this, it sounds to me like this upgrade and the purchase of this equipment would fall within the eligible expenditures for the PEG funds. And so we may want to explore that because we
Yep.
have money in an account.
No, that's where we are taking the money from. Actually, we've got plenty of money in that fund, and that's exactly where it's coming from. Mr. Guzak?
Yeah, I was just going to mention it was listed as PEG funds.
Yep.
So
Actually, we get those money for being able to basically make our meetings accessible to the public and educating the public on what we do. So it fits right in with what we have to use that money for.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair,
Mr. Massey?
I don't recall this ever been put before the board.
It wasn't, but like I said, those two different expenditures, as long as they're under 10,000, I know Mr. Guzak's combining them, but they're actually two separate. Yeah, they're part of the same project, but we had no idea that we were going to need the audio at the same time. So when you separate them out, they're each under the $10,000 threshold. So,
right.
and I did bring up to the board that we were working on upgrading the system. But as you can imagine, the equipment is kind of hard to come by right now. For a lot of things, so it took us a little while to get it completed.
Yes, but Mr. Chair, as I stated earlier, I'm an auto person. So if you go to someone and request auto and you tell them what you want, well, they should know. The company should know exactly what it costs at that time for what you need.
Well, we got it done now, so the board will have to decide, what they want to do on that.
It's just a slick way of not bringing something before the board.
Well, okay. Any other comments with regard to financial?
So that'll be brought out separately in the Thursday meeting.
Right.
We can bring it up again. Doesn't
Right.
matter
No,
to
I
me.
mean,
Yeah, we need a separate vote on it, Scott. You said you would, so.
Mr. Mansour?
Yep. So a couple questions here. First, are we saying, is Treasurer Guzak saying that we need to vote on that tonight?
No, Thursday.
Okay, all right,
Thursday's
fine. So Thursday. Okay. Second question is, and I don't see the finance director on, but I have a couple of questions regarding the kind of the financials that were provided as part of the packet.
The checking account or
No, into the budget numbers.
okay. I would ask you to email her in advance of the meeting, and we'll probably have a response back for the meeting on Thursday.
All right. I'll do that after the meeting here and see what comes back.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on Mr. Guzak's treasurer's report?
So we
Okay.
have
Next
we have-
item. I'm sorry, Mr. Massey.
Mr. Chair, just to clear up something, so that would be a separate item.
If the board wants to pull it out, we can, you know.
Yeah,
Okay. Then do it on Thursday. So next item is the item that Mr. Massey asked that we put on the agenda, and that is regarding attorney fees and what those are. So bottom line is I brought up 2019 and 2020. So in 2019, we paid Bodman and Associates $63,667. In 2020, we paid them $93,886. Also looking at just the total here, we also paid the Laddie Law Firm $167,000 in 2019 and $763. In 2020, we paid the Laddie Law Firm $125,586.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
for Thursday's meeting, can we get that in a separate item, each one separately?
What do you mean? You approve the attorney bills every month, Mr. Massey. They're in with the checking. Every month, if you go through the packets for the last 4 years, we have the attorney bills right in with the checks every month.
But they're not separated.
Yeah, we have Bodman and Laddie Law Firm
no.
separated.
No, I've seen some reports that were not separated. I'll look for that specifically in the report.
Okay. Well, you take a look at it again, it's in there. We have it separated out from Laddie versus Bodman.
Mr. Chair, I don't think you heard what I said. I say I've looked at some reports that were not separated.
Okay. I will email you a highlighted version of the packet that is out tonight, showing you where it has Bodman versus Laddie.
Okay.
Okay.
You'll take that up Thursday after you email me that.
I'll email you that, and if it's not to your satisfaction, we can talk about it Thursday.
Okay.
All right.
Put that on the agenda for Thursday?
It is
Well,
on
it's
the
already
agenda.
on the agenda.
Yeah, it's on the
Yeah.
agenda.
It's on the agenda already, Joe.
I mean, just what you said. You would email me.
I don't think we needed a separate item to say I'm going to email you on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, anything else with regard to legal fees? Okay, anything with regard to board reports? I guess we can either do those now or do those Thursday. Mr. Mansour?
Yep. So I would prefer, there's a couple of items I want to talk about with Planning Commission, but I would like to do that on Thursday, please.
Okay, we'll wait till Thursday to give those
Yes.
reports.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
for the agenda coming up Thursday, it was some time ago, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago may have been, and I asked you for a downtown development authority report.
Right, and I was prepared to give it at that following meeting. However, our meeting ran late, and everybody said, "Hey, you know what? That's okay. Let's pass on that. We want to get out of here because
Can
it
you
went
do
so
that?
late."
Can you put that on the agenda for Thursday?
Sure,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll give it in my report. Ms. Lane?
Mr. Bennett, I emailed you, your term or the terms of the DDA are for 4 years.
Right.
And now that we know that you are reelected, I would suggest that we put your reappointment for the 4 years. Remember, initially, everybody had to be staggered. And so now reappointments in the DDA are for 4 years. If you wanted to put your reappointment to the DDA on because it had terminated as of November 20th. So,
Mr. Laddie?
I actually think, Mr. Supervisor, as I recall, the statute for the DDA specifies that the township supervisor is a member of the DDA, as I recall. And so I'm not sure that that's necessary. However, if for the sake of record keeping or for the sake of formality, you guys want to do that, then there wouldn't be any harm with it. But I think you're automatically carried over.
Right, I believe that's the case as well, Mr. Laddie. We'll take a look at it and see, Ms. Lane.
thank you.
Anything else for the good of the meeting this evening? Okay, Mr.
I have a-
Mansour?
Yep, I have a question. If we're through the review of the minutes for the 12th and into written reports, I did have a couple of questions for Parks and Rec. So I don't see Mr. Linehan on,
Right.
but
I would just
maybe
ask that you send him an email
Yep,
and hopefully you get your response before Thursday,
okay.
which I'm sure you will.
All right, I'll do that. And if not, we'll bring it back up then.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have one question. I guess this is more or less to Attorney Laddie. He sort of touched on it at the last meeting. So with Parks and Rec, we all, not Parks and Rec, I'm sorry. with the fire department, we all settled with the breaking up of the joint venture.
We are. We're right now still working, and Chief Burdett has been working on this issue. We're just trying to get a title that was inadvertently not processed through the state of Michigan. We're trying to get that title through the state to recognize that the township's the sole owner of that property. That's the only item that remains for the fire commission, and so that when that is done, and I expect it'll be done very soon, it'll be buttoned up.
Okay, thank you.
I have one item that I'd like to see if we could add to Thursday's agenda. And I know that we hired an investment firm to help with the investments. And I'd like to ask Mr. Guzak, Treasurer Guzak, if he could go through on Thursday the latest investment report that we've received from the investment firm so that we're all understanding where we are as we close out this board financially on our investments. So if we could do that on Thursday, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm glad you raised that issue. I had jotted it down. I had overlooked it. I'm glad you raised that. Can you give us a quick overview how much better our finance in the far as a treasurer perspective, from a treasurer perspective, that we are doing much better than we have done in the past, because now we hired a professional that do the investment for the municipalities, and no reflection on the current treasurer now. This is something that we thought that we could reap more benefits overall based on the market.
Well, let's do that on Thursday, because rather than springing it on Mr. Guzak tonight. But if that works, just kind of run through the reports that you received, Mr. Guzak, and kind of explain where we're at with those.
Well, you've received every report every month, so you've been receiving them all along, okay?
Right, but I just wondered if you, for the sake of the public and the new board members that are coming on, as well as just wrapping up with this board, kind of where we're at with their investments. I mean, it is a considerable amount of money. I mean, it's probably like $25 million. So if you could kind of run through that and tell us how we're doing and explain the report, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Ms. Lane?
Have we completed everything, or what is still outstanding with the Parks and Rec I know they're our department, but is there any discussion going on with the schools and the city about it, or is it now finished and we're simply going to operate our own?
No,
No, I really don't want to get into a separate agenda item, but the Parks and Rec, we are operating with the cooperation of the other organizations. Unfortunately, right now, Parks and Rec is on a very limited activity list. So obviously, the schools are not allowing Parks and Rec activity in their facilities indoor, and the amount of outdoor activities right now is obviously severely limited. So I think, if we want to rehash, where we're at with Parks and Rec, with the city and school and all that, then, I think that's a topic for the new board. I really can't see
That's
us.
fine. I just wondered where it stood, if
Yep.
there was something to be signed.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Massey.
along those same lines, I pass by the park, used to pass by 2 and 3 times a day. I noticed a lot of activities in Parks and Rec.
Well, when the weather's 70 degrees, there are a lot of people that show up at the park. So, and outdoor activities are still permissible right now, all right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Ms. Lane, go ahead and call the roll.
All right. Mr. Mansour,
Yes.
Mr. Massey,
Yes.
Mr. Guzak,
Yes.
myself, yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
You gentlemen.
Good night.
hey.
Right.